Just like the guy in the bar, not getting numbers, but he looks nice and he talks to a couple of girls that don't want to call him. That's what Tottenham are, and that's what matters as well. Hey everybody, welcome to One-Two. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, and Man City have finally been beaten. Oh, come on, son! I don't even support Liverpool. As an Arsenal fan, I've literally been waiting for this day and fearing it not coming, but it's happened. I'm here with the one, the only, the superstar, the great guy in a brand new jumper, Mr. Matt Froelich. Very slick.
Old jumper, but thank you very much.
I think last week you looked like an old man in that shirt. Yeah. I was re-watching that video. If we'd have edited like an old person's face there.
It was like,
but today you're looking very suave. I like
it. Set from '97. That's what it was.
So we're going to jump straight into the 1-2 between me and Matt, and then we're going to throw the ball to you. So we want to see your answers in the comment section. Our question is, if you were Alexis Sanchez, which of the three teams I'm going to tell you about would you choose to play for? Would it be 1, Man City, 2, Liverpool, or 3, Man United? Matt, take the ball.
If I was Alexis Sanchez, well, City. I think I'd have to go for City purely because he enjoys the kind of football, as he's much stated, that Guardiola plays. If he went to Liverpool, he'd be in the same position as Arsenal. He'd just be a really big fish in a, not a small pond, but like a small-ish pond. I'm sure Sanchez would rather be around players who want to win and kind of be more ambitious rather than, you know, challenging for trophies rather than challenging for top 4.
That's a very good...
It would be very sideways if you moved to Liverpool.
It's true. I think it's a very good answer. It's very predictable in terms of chasing the trophy, but I think right now I'm going to go against what I said last week in terms of Liverpool just being the twin of the goal you've already got, and they're basically the same, just stylishly. It's a case, when Liverpool beat Man City, I think they really made a statement for their future, whereas a situation where Liverpool are both exciting, they have got a future in which they're building, they're willing to spend the money with Van Dijk going for 75 million, they're willing to get rid of players if they want to leave, but also re-spend that money on new players as well. So I think it's a situation where if I'm Sanchez, I'm looking to win things obviously, but at the same point, if I want to be in an exciting team that has a great future and then I can pin down my legacy, then I'd go to Liverpool to secure that, simply because if you go to Man City, he's going to be a bit part player. Gabriel Jesus is the future there. Sergio Aguero was already a record holder there, so he's never going to fill either of those boots. Where if he goes to Liverpool, he can really put his mark down, and maybe, I always use this analogy slash metaphor in terms of how great a player is. He can get that statue outside. He's never going to get a statue of Man City. There's like a whole list of players that go ahead of him if he went there. There'd be Yaya Toure, there's Sergio Aguero. There's loads of people who've done way more for City, whereas if he goes to Liverpool and he can be the last key slash puzzle piece in that little ensemble that Klopp's putting together, he can really be something special and become a folk hero, probably more so than Suarez if he's able to push him over the line.
Potentially. The only problem I see is that, especially if I was Sanchez hypothetically, Liverpool have got the same problems that Arsenal do. And you can see, I'll never forget, it was talking about this, the Bournemouth game. Hilarious, losing 2-1 to Bournemouth.
I wasn't even going to mention that. But.
Last year the 3-0, Giroud scored that goal and then started doing the flick celebration. And Sanchez is on the other side of the pitch like, what are you doing? Like, get the ball, we can try and win 4-3. And I can see the same thing. But Sanchez at Liverpool, he sees a defensive error.
I hear that, but I think there's a mindset of Liverpool that's slowly changing. They're
on the up, whereas Arsenal on the down.
They're bringing in the Water and Salah, they're bringing in people who want to be there and want to play for Klopp. Whereas Man City's a done deal now. Like, it's a situation where you can be in a team that's definitely going to win and it's boring because they're just going to win, or you can start actually crafting a legacy and moving on. So that's the end of our 1-2. The ball is now in your box. Boom, 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 shh. We're going to move on to your questions. Straight up, out the back, we have from Suhas Bahet. 1-2, hashtag, well done. Alexi is leaving. Ozil is unsure. Wilshere and Ramsey aren't at their best. And don't get me started on the defence. How can you fix this mess? Is Wenger the problem or the board? As a Tottenham fan, who do you think it is?
I think it's got to be the board. It's from the board down. This is the thing, it filters through. Because, I mean, again, not many people know the actual ins and outs. So there can be so much speculation inside the club. The ins and outs are difficult to kind of say who's doing what. I think it's from the board. I think if they're not asked and they don't put the money and Wenger gets annoyed, it transmits to the team.
I think the media make out like Wenger's literally the accountant, he's paying the stewards, he's paying the groundsmen. Like I think they exaggerate the extent of his power. He definitely obviously has power in terms of when he leaves or when he stays, that kind of thing. But I think in terms of transfers, I'm pretty sure if the board was like, look, Usmanov has got X amount of billions, we're going to accept him onto the board to actually start doing stuff, and we're going to put some money down. I think Wenger's not going to turn them down and be like, actually no, let's just not spend this money. I think if the money was fully available, he'd be doing it. Sometimes he's been stringent, maybe with the pay structure he might have been stringent, but I think it's a case of if you let, I don't know, Lacazette walk in on 200 grand a week, it means you start paying everyone that kind of crazy money. One thing I will blame Wenger for is he hasn't been strong enough with getting rid of players. Like Iwobi, Welbeck, Chuba Akpom, Coughlin's gone now, but there's a whole list of players who are dead weight. Like one day I'm going to do a video of just the players Arsenal to get rid of if they want to win the league, and there's a whole night of the long knives that happen.
Even Arsenal, in that question, say Ramsey and Wilshere aren't at their best. Ramsey doesn't have a best.
Yeah, it's like Ramsey had one good season.
He's like a 7 of 10 at best. His best is like everyone else's. All right. I mean, Wilshere had a good game yesterday. I'll give him that.
I'm not going to talk too much about that game. But anyway, we're going to move on again in terms of best. Suhan had a great question as well, so I won't do this often, but he had two great questions, so we're going to follow up with another one from him. Premier League is bigger brand, but most of the big stars are laid out in La Liga, Bundesliga, Italy, and France. Yes, in France. Why are star players not attracted to come into the Premier League? Do you think that's a fair statement? Because personally, I don't think that's a fair statement. I think it's a case of certain teams in Europe already have an aura of them. So if you're a player and Barcelona come knocking, Real Madrid come knocking, you're probably going to go.
I definitely think it's a cultural thing, 110%, because this is what's really funny I always see about foreign players and managers. In England, when you grow up in England, you know the football teams and you have a real sort of romanticism, especially about the FA Cup. Like, we love the FA Cup more than anything. And the way we kind of view different teams and we know the history of it, that doesn't translate if you're from outside of the country. And especially for players from South America, right, because of obviously the cultural similarities of them, especially in places like Spain and Portugal, you're going to be drawn to Barcelona and Real Madrid. You know, the amount of players who grow up dreaming to play for these kind of teams. If we said, you know, I don't know, Spurs are a big team challenging the top 4. I can't imagine many kids in Brazil when they were younger, you know, dream about playing for Spurs. Exactly. But if you see Ronaldo on TV,
with that said, there's not many kids in England trying to dream of playing for Spurs either.
Sometimes I wanna climb into my old ropes, embrace the evil ways that I've been known for.
Carry on, Matt. That was a
you know what I mean? Like, there's not the desire to go to the big giants of world football, especially from that kind of era. You never know that from the 2000s when English football was really on the up, we used to have 3 or 4 semi-finalists in the Champions League every year. United were on the ball. In 10 years' time, you might have a load of people from another part of the world saying, I remember the early 2000s growing up watching United, watching the Invincibles.
I think it's a case where when football gets a lot bigger in America, it's definitely going to improve the English game in terms of its coverage. Because again, it's the language barrier like you were talking about. If you're in Brazil, anywhere in South America, you're automatically drawn to Spain because you have similar languages. And the mystique around Barca and Madrid's never going to go. But I don't think there's kids in Brazil dreaming of playing for Bayern Munich either, or even playing for PSG.
That's true,
So it's like really just the two teams that have that mystique. And then Juventus' form has gone up and down in terms of world popularity. Problem is, Man United are pretty universally loved. And then after that, there's a big drop-off. Like in Africa, Chelsea and Arsenal have got more of a following, but that's simply because of the players they've brought along the way. So it's not a case that the status of the Premier League is less. I think it's simply that in certain countries where a lot of great players come from, they're automatically connected to Spain.
But this is the thing, it's just the cultural thing, and it will continue like that because unless an absolute maverick, you know, like, can you imagine if Neymar grew up and was like, my dream is to play for Stoke City and I would try whatever to go and play for. Unless, I mean, even the English guys, no one goes abroad.
No, exactly.
Because they're just so completely obsessed and focused with playing in the English league. And, you know, if you said to a young English player, go and play for Barcelona or score the FA Cup winner, you know, against United at Old Trafford. It's Old Trafford, you know, everything that means.
I don't know about that. I think, like,
you know what
the strength of Barcelona and Real Madrid is that they'd probably still choose Barcelona.
Okay, Bayern and PSG then. You know what I mean? There are so many, playing for your hometown club, there are so many...
There's levels to it. I think when we talk about the question, it's a case of, it's not every league in Europe. It's literally the Liga that has that aura and that mystique. No one's dreaming of playing for PSG, like, as simple as that.
Maybe you don't want to... Bad weather as well.
Yeah, exactly. That adds up. But we're going to move on again. Pius V6 had the best buy of the season equals Salah, or let's wait for the transfer window to close, question mark.
I think Salah, yeah.
Yeah, I think,
gone. Yeah. I mean, he can have an average rest of the season and he's still, still kicked it for 6 months.
The league's done and dusted. Man City going to win it, regardless of them losing against Liverpool. So it's not been an outstanding player for Man City that's come in. It's simply Salah's been a big difference maker at Liverpool, and I don't think any player, no one can come in unless Arsenal signs Neymar, which is not going to happen. Do you know what I mean? Like no one's going to be able to eclipse everything he's done. So we're going to move on to do some quick-fire questions. I grabbed the laptop. Matt, you warmed up? You ready?
Serious. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. Okay, from Johnson Lima, who do you think will win the Champions League?
Barca.
And quickly, a big shout out to a person called Brecco, who might be from Brecco in New Zealand. I don't know which one it was, it didn't make much sense. But he was the first person to say where he's from. So if you're watching, make sure you comment where you're from. Big ups to New Zealand. His question was, who do you think is going to get relegated in the Premier League?
Stoke, Brighton, Crystal Palace.
You don't think Swansea?
No.
Oh, fair enough.
I think there's always a little charge at the end to do
Okay, can Liverpool bring anyone of the following, Lamar, Aubameyang, Goretzka, Pastor or Leandro Paredes in January?
I think Aubameyang's the most likely.
Okay. From RK, excluding Spurs and Liverpool, are there any other clubs in the near future you can see winning the English Premier League that haven't already?
Excluding Spurs and Liverpool? Oh, no. No, the gap is just ridiculous, especially as they'll keep on improving.
From BM10FC, who will be the best transfer in the window in terms of value for money?
Ross Barkley.
Because
he's so cheap.
From Nishad Hegedi Desaya, which bottom half team will spend the most to avoid relegation?
I'm going to go with Crystal Palace.
Okay. Hashtag One-Two. Who will replace Messi and Ronaldo in the battle for Ballon d'Or when they retire? That was from Jan Klemek.
Wow. Neymar, and I'm going to go Coutinho now.
Okay. From Luke Carroll, will Conte leave this summer? If he does, where to?
Yes, he'll definitely. I have no idea where to, but...
Just throw it out there.
Throw it out there.
I'm going to go with Madrid because I think Zidane's going to get sacked.
What do you reckon? I'm going to say PSG.
Okay. And finally from Jan Klemek again, will Kane retire at Tottenham?
Yes, of course he'll retire at Spurs. As the Premier League's record goal scorer.
I was very hopeful from Matt there. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Kane's going to be gone within 2 seasons, and I'm going to come in a Tottenham shirt just so I can laugh.
This is just an Arsenal fan gutted to be losing Sanchez and Ozil 1 season, praying that Spurs' best player leaves.
Real talk. These are dark times at Arsenal. Like, I'm going to keep it 100. It's dark times. Help us. So yeah, that's been 1-2. Matt's laughing, having a good time because his team's not going to win the league, but they'll finish above Arsenal. These are the...
We're applying pressure. That's the biggest trophy.
Cool. Just like the guy in the bar, not getting numbers, but he looks nice and he talks to a couple of girls that don't want to call him. That's what Tottenham are, and that's what Matt is as well. But thank you, Matt, for coming over today.
No worries.
And he's his... Oh, I meant to say this earlier. It was actually his birthday the other day, so comment happy birthday in the comment section. You probably even watched this far into the video, but if you have, make sure you comment happy birthday.
There's a little bit of love between Spurs and Arsenal.
Exactly. We'll see you again next week. Peace.